How's it going, you guys? I'm on a quest today before we get this out of the groove started. We have something important we need to go out and find in the wild. Country roads, take me home. I smell something. Yes, yes. This is what my journey has been for. Yes, I know I've been talking about NASCAR pole position a lot lately, but there's a good reason why, and this is it. If I just open up the April-May edition right here. Who is that? Who is that? Dapper young gentleman. And I'm not talking about Eric Almirola, although he's very handsome. I'm talking about this goofball. That's right, those crazy people over at NASCAR Pole Position have actually put me and Out of the Groove in an official NASCAR magazine. Remember, you can go to polepositionmag.com and see a digital version of this, and you can read all about that article. The magazine is free, and you can subscribe and have it delivered, just pay shipping and handling. Or, just like I am here, there are some Walmarts and Big Lots that will have them in stock for free. All right, mission accomplished. Let's get on with the show, y'all. How's it going, you guys? My name is Eric and welcome to Out of the Groove. Now, I do have quite a few things I want to talk about, so I'm going to hit on a few little stories at first before I get to the main topic of today's episode, which revolves around Darrell Waltrip, so we'll get to that at the end, but first, let's talk about some other quick things. Truck Series driver Austin Wayne Self was suspended indefinitely by NASCAR earlier this week for violating their substance abuse policy. Really no further details given there. He's expected to complete the Road to Recovery program so that he can be reinstated at some point. Most recent example of this I can think of was Spencer Gallagher in the Xfinity Series last year. He was suspended for a couple months for violating substance abuse policy, came back just after a couple months, and kept racing. So really not sure what the timetable's looking like here. Bubba Wallace has driven that team's truck the last 2 weeks. We didn't really know why, but I guess now we do. Here's Austin Wayne Self's statement. To each of my fans, team partners, crew members, and fellow NASCAR members, I ask for your grace and understanding in this difficult season of adversity and ask that you would accept my apology for what has happened. It is an honor to be involved in a premier sport as great as ours, and I am truly crushed for what has happened. The news and positive results have caught me as a surprise. Being a driver, I am expected to be a steward for our sport, someone who pays attention to the most minute of details, just as our race team does with our trucks in competition. Moving forward, I promise to those who will follow this journey that I will aim to the utmost of my ability to do a better job at paying close attention to what I consume and allow into my body as an athlete. So it sounds to me like he's, claiming ignorance here. I don't know what I took that set off the alarms. Which may be true. It has happened in other sports where an athlete will take a medication or something for something completely unrelated to the sport that they're playing, and it will set off a test, it'll set off a trigger, and will force a suspension that they weren't aware of. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but he doesn't really... he apologizes there, but he's also saying, I didn't mean to do it, it was an accident, so I don't know. I'll let you guys be the judge of that. We really don't have any other information to go off of, so let's move on. Now, the 2020 Truck and Xfinity Series schedules were just released, actually earlier today. Last week, the 2020 Cup Series schedule was revealed. I did a whole episode about that, so you can go back and check that out if you missed it. Not going to spend as much time on the Truck and Xfinity schedules. Not a lot of major changes. Most notably, the finales in the Xfinity and Truck Series will also be at ISM Raceway, just like the Cup Series will be next year. Another interesting thing, the trucks will go to Richmond in 2020, with the Xfinity Series coming back to Martinsville. They will be a part of a triple header in the fall Martinsville race of 2020. I think it's pretty cool to see the Xfinity Series come back to Martinsville. Also regarding the Pocono doubleheader, a few more details emerged about that. Remember, the Cup Series in 2020 is going to run a Cup race on Saturday and then another Cup race the very next day on Sunday. It's going to be a literal Cup Series doubleheader weekend at Pocono. Well, now NASCAR has confirmed that on Saturday, the Truck Series will also run a race the same day as the Cup Series, and then the very next day on Sunday, it will be the Xfinity Series partnering up with the Cup Series and both running a race on Sunday. So that's how that doubleheader is going to work. We're starting to get some details because last week NASCAR had no details about this doubleheader. Anyway, those are the most notable changes. I think they added Gateway to the playoffs, so I encourage you to go check them out and form your own opinion, but yeah, nothing too surprising here. Like I said, it's kind of cool to see the Xfinity Series come back to Martinsville. I believe the Truck Martinsville race in the spring, the same weekend as the Cup Martinsville race that year, is also going to be a night race. So double dose of night races, I guess, in 2020 at Martinsville. That'll be fun. Now let's talk about Harrison Burton. He announced just the other day that he's going to be running 8 Xfinity Series races for Joe Gibbs Racing this season. I couldn't find a full schedule of races for him, but I know he is going to be making his Xfinity Series debut in that 18 car this week at Bristol. Dex Imaging is supposed to be the sponsor for all 8 of those races this year, and yeah, pretty cool to see another young driver getting a good opportunity. Now I want to get to the meat of this episode. I want to spend the most amount of time talking about this. This was the top story across the NASCAR world this week. I'm sure you guys have probably read a little bit about it, heard a little bit about it. A lot of you probably have your own strong opinions about it, but now I'm going to talk about it right here and now. It was reported earlier this week that Darrell Waltrip is seriously considering retiring from broadcasting at the end of this 2019 season. And as you can see in this tweet from Adam Stern, the announcement could come anytime. Darrell Waltrip has been a broadcaster for about 20 years now, and obviously before that he was a Hall of Fame, all-time great driver in the Cup Series. But at age 72, it looks like the old boogity-boogity-boogities might be boogity-boogity-boogeting their way out of the booth sometime soon. That was a terrible joke. I should not put that in. On the surface, this just seems like a general announcement. You know, he's getting older, he's had a great career, you know, he seems to be a super nice guy. Everything I've heard about him, when you meet him in person, he seems to be super duper nice. So on the surface, it's just like, all right, it's his time. He's going out on his own terms. Yeah, I guess it's just time for it to happen. But then a few writers in the NASCAR media world, and I'll mention them here in a second, kind of took opposing sides on this announcement, and that sent, from what I could tell, the NASCAR media world, really just the NASCAR world on social media in general, sent them into a completely, kind of like a civil war, in a sense. Half these people believed one thing and were going after this other half of people for believing another thing. I think some people were making up arguments that didn't actually exist. Let's talk about it. Reporter Jenna Fryer wrote a controversial article about this, and it got a lot of people talking. Now, I'm not going to read you the entire article, but I encourage you to go look it up. Just look up Jenna Fryer, Darrell Waltrip, and you'll find it. But basically, her thesis statement in this article is that it's the right time for Darrell Waltrip to step down. It's the right time for Fox to kind of move on from DW. In this article, she wrote that Darrell Waltrip has become a caricature of himself. She also referred to DW and the whole Fox broadcast now as a carnival-like yuck fest. Now, she does say nice things about him as well. She, you know, respects his career and everything like that, but I think it was those controversial quotes I just read, that's what got a lot of people on Twitter especially talking. So now this article didn't sit well with a lot of other people in NASCAR media. Not all. Some NASCAR media people have actually defended Jenna Fryer for her article, but others have kind of gone a completely different direction here. Most notably, Dave Moody, who's known for being on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio, went out and publicly defended Darrell Waltrip, and in his article, you know, he kind of claimed that, you know, Jenna Fryer and a lot of other critics of Darrell Waltrip are disrespecting his legacy. And I think he messed up here because I think he kind of unfairly, intentionally misunderstood the point of Jenna Fryer's argument just so that he could kind of win brownie points with Darrell Waltrip sympathizers, I guess. He made it sound like a large portion of the NASCAR fan base was completely disrespecting Darrell Waltrip, you know, completely discrediting everything he's ever done in his career as a driver and as a broadcaster, and just wanted him gone because they don't like his boogities. That's what it felt like Dave Moody was trying to say there, and that's completely unfair and in my opinion completely untrue. I have not seen a single person, especially not a single like higher up person in the NASCAR world, say anything remotely resembling those types of comments. The general vibe I'm getting from around the NASCAR community is that Darrell Waltrip was a great driver, is a super amazing person, a very nice person, a very generous person, a very friendly person, and for many years was a great broadcaster. Now I'm going to insert my own opinion here, but I think this is also an opinion that's shared by many other NASCAR fans these days. I don't think he's that great of a broadcaster anymore. Like I say, he's been a broadcaster for 20 years or so now. I think up until the last maybe 2 or 3 years, he's been really, really good. Offered good analysis most of the time, you know, kind of kept things lighthearted, had a little bit of comic relief in there that was usually tastefully done, and then he was like a character. He was NASCAR's version of Charles Barkley or Shaquille O'Neal. And all those things I thought were really good up until the last year or two. And this is what I think Dave Moody was missing. You know, people can be critical of Darrell Waltrip and also respect everything he did as a driver and everything he has done up to this point as a commentator and as a broadcaster. We can be critical of what he's doing right here today and still respect everything he's done for the sport. That's my point. I think Darrell Waltrip's a great guy, and I think for, like I said, most of his career he's been a great broadcaster and obviously a great driver. I just think right now, I think now is the time for him to, I don't know, kind of step aside. If in fact Darrell Waltrip does announce his retirement sometime soon and announces that 2019 will be his last full-time season, I personally think he will be making a great decision, not just for himself, because like I said, the man's 72 years old. You know, he deserves to take a step back and kind of just enjoy the rest of his life, enjoy the legacy he's created for himself. But I also think it'll be good for NASCAR and Fox, because I do believe they need to kind of move on or rebrand themselves as a broadcast team. I don't think what they have right now works. In my opinion, I just don't think Darrell Waltrip is the best for a modern modern NASCAR broadcast. He hasn't raced these cars in decades, and often he says things during broadcasts that are just false. And it's become more obvious the last couple of years, I think, because we've put Jeff Gordon in the booth, who's a recent driver. He's only been out of these cars a couple of years now. I think he has a better understanding of the world of NASCAR today. Darrell Waltrip, too often it feels like, is still stuck in the world of several decades ago, of the 70s, 80s, 90s, and the truth is NASCAR, really the world, isn't anything like it was in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Or even now that they've added like Brad Keselowski or Kevin Harvick or Joey Logano or whoever to the Xfinity Series broadcast teams, I just feel like it's become more apparent that Darrell Waltrip's commentary is a little outdated. Darrell Waltrip still does some good things for Fox and for NASCAR. He's still kind of that link between modern NASCAR and old school fans. Unfortunately, in my opinion, I just feel like he's too far removed from the race cars these days to really offer the best analysis. So personally, I don't want Fox to kick Darrell Waltrip out. I don't want NASCAR to force Darrell Waltrip out. But he's 72 years old. If he finally feels like it's the time to step away and to enjoy real retirement, they shouldn't be begging for him to come back. They should let him walk. And recently it looks like Fox has kind of been preparing for DW's eventual departure. They stocked up on a lot of new talent this last offseason. They added Jamie McMurray, they added Ricky Craven, Bob Pockrass, a lot of TV personalities to their team. Now the question, of course, that you guys might be asking is, if Darrell Waltrip retires after this year, who's going to take his place in 2020? There's been no real reports. There's really been no hot rumors about this either. My guess, unfortunately, is that Michael Waltrip would probably get the nod. He's already done, Truck Series broadcasts, Xfinity sometimes. He's still kind of an old school kind of guy. He's a familiar face, a familiar name. He still brings the comedy that Darrell does to some extent. I think Fox would go with Michael Waltrip. Personally, he wouldn't be my first choice. Not hating on Michael Waltrip, I think there is a place for him on Fox or in NASCAR broadcasting. I just don't really want him on the front lines or in the booth every weekend in front of millions of people. I personally kind of hope they bring Larry McReynolds back. When Jeff Gordon came into the booth a few years back, they bumped McReynolds to kind of the fourth string. He's kind of the extra guy, the first guy on the bench. He pops in with his trends or his Ford cutaway cars from time to time, but personally I'd like to see Larry McReynolds back in that booth. Again, he's younger than Darrell Waltrip, but he's still kind of from that last generation of racing. He worked with a lot of the greats from, before the year 2000. So he still would be that link between modern NASCAR and old school fans, while also, I think, maintaining a level of professionalism that, honestly, I think Fox broadcasts could do with. I wish that Fox would kind of start to treat NASCAR, especially the Cup Series, as more of a major, serious professional sporting event. Instead, they focus too much on these little novelties like the grid walks and the boogities and these other things. I don't know, I feel like it just makes NASCAR look cheap. Cheaper than other major sports, at least. I still love Mike Joy, even though I do think some of the things he says feels a little scripted. Jeff Gordon has been hit or miss, but I think he could still turn into something entertaining and something good in the booth. That middle person in the booth needs to, know what they're talking about, first and foremost. Secondly, I think it'd be nice if they still were, had that connection between older NASCAR and newer NASCAR, which Darrell Waltrip did. And third, and now this is just my opinion, I do hope that this third person can bring more of a serious attitude to the booth. I'm not saying I don't like Darrell Waltrip's, off-the-cuff humor and boogity-boogities and all that stuff. They're still charming, they're still entertaining for the most part, but I do think it'd be nice to see Fox try something new. Go a slightly different direction. You still have Michael, still do your grid walks if you insist on them, and that can be your little comedy segment. But when the race starts, when we're actually ready to fire the engines and go green for 300, 400, 500 laps, I want it to be serious. I want it to feel like a premier sporting event. Something that, is highly competitive, something that is highly acclaimed. That's what I want Fox broadcasts and all NASCAR broadcasts to feel like. And last couple of years especially, I feel like Fox has fallen short on that. And I'd like to see them go a different direction. So that's my opinion. Of course, I'd like to know what you guys think down below. Would you be sad to see Darrell Waltrip walk away? Would you be kind of happy? Who would you want to see replace him in the booth? Let me know all that stuff down in the comments. I look forward to reading your responses. But as usual, thank you so much for watching this episode of Out of the Groove. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, continue the conversation over there. Remember, you can also get yourself an Out of the Groove t-shirt like I'm wearing right here and support me and support the show. Those are down by the description. Also, a big thank you, of course, to my Patreon supporters. Michael Harrison at G Was of the Stars, Selfish Gifts Heroes.com, Mentally Defective, Cameron James, John Koblenz, Tim Shingen, Jason Arlong, Wesley Donaldson, Isaac Dennison, Mika Suzuki, Adam Lean, and the rest of these amazing Patreon supporters. Thank you all so much for the continued support. You've gotten to do some amazing things already this year. 2019 has been an amazing year so far for the show, and I hope that it only gets better, and I think it will only get better, and a lot of that is due to the support I get from you all here on Patreon, and even those of you watching at home. I really appreciate that so many of you guys believe in what I'm trying to create over here. Hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I also hope you've enjoyed the Texas Motor Speedway vlogs from the last couple days. The last one comes out tomorrow, and I'm really excited. It's the Cup race. It's Sunday, from this past Sunday, and I got basically right up close with pretty much every driver in the Cup Series field, and pretty much every car in the Cup Series field, so I hope you guys are excited for that one. I think the video I'm uploading tomorrow, I don't know. I haven't finished editing it yet, but it might be my favorite video I've made in a while. It was a lot of fun, and I hope you guys enjoy watching it. So with that little tease, I will see you all tomorrow. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Bye-bye, y'all.